And guys, we are live with Debbie Green and Andrew Kutyak. And it's me behind the camera watching all comments. It's, you're the one and only, the crazy guy with the lazy eye here with Action Eye News. And we do ask everybody, make sure you tag your friends, especially people that do live in the county areas. Share this video because I know I hear everybody talking about this annexation situation that's going on. So tonight we're just going to have a sit down and let's talk about it. So Andrew, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and what's going on tonight?
Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. It's great to be here, and we wanted to reach out to all of you and speak with you, give you an update of what's really going on, and give you the real story behind what's happening here. A lot of you know me from being on San Jacinto City Council and being one of the driving forces for 10 years to turn around San Jacinto and get it in great shape. And since then, I've been mainly quiet, but some things have come up in the community that I haven't been pleased with, and it's really gotten me up off my laurels to get involved again. Most recently, we've had a huge win with the 79 realignment. We've been promised this highway for 40 years, and I was asked to battle with for the community to really bring that effort back. We all know how terrible it is to get out of the valley for multiple reasons. And to say the least, the last 12 months, we wound up getting a unanimous vote from the county, all the supervisors, all the commissioners there at RCTC, MSJC Valleywide, the Pass Area EDA, San Antonio Unified School District, both Congressman Calvert Ruiz, Saboba, everyone really band together in this community to fight and push and represent us and have a voice in the county to fight for what we need, which hasn't happened for a long time, that unity. And just in December, the county approved $68 million to start phase one of that project. And it'll take some time, and it's going to be $1 billion that they're committing that's moving forward. Supervisor Washington and Gutierrez really leaned in heavy. So, anyways, why I'm saying this is it gives me a feeling of hope to turn this valley and the city around. We've all seen where we're at and what's happening to our home, whether you're in the county or the city. We all shop and live and eat here locally, and we see what's happening here. And with that success, it really gave me higher hopes of what's the next step to turn and continue moving this valley forward. And that's when this annexation issue slowly came to be. And why I say slowly came to be is because it wasn't the first thing. I actually was talking to Debbie, who represents the citrus development organization out in the county. But we started to see a lot of different county developments being approved. The City Net Homeless Project, um, um, the Boulders, which is above us here, housing development, the 6,000 citrus development I just mentioned, things happening in the county that we're not happy with, and our voice wasn't being heard. Um, and that kind of led to, what are we doing about this local control?
So how far are they wanting to do the annexation? How far into the county? Because I noticed you guys live in the county and people are worried, am I going to be now city of Hemet? I mean, like people are saying right now on YouTube, leave the county alone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, people say that, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I was born and raised here, and I live in the county, right? And I hear that, and I appreciate those comments. But part of the problem that we all have is that even though we're in the county, my address is still Hemet, right? And I still shop and eat and work in Hemet. I mean, we still are Hemet, even though we're in the county proper. And the reason, from my viewpoint, that we suffer when we start talking about status level within the county is because of our population. Um, when you look at demographics, you're looking at when you get a Costco, they look at, I should say, education level of the community. They look at income levels.
Oh,
of the
we'll never
community.
get a Costco out here. No, I'm just joking.
Actually, you'd be surprised if with this annexation talk, the demographics totally changes, because inside the city limits, originally it was a senior community, so you had a lot of
Right.
people on Social Security. A lot of your working people are south of town and east in town, and the income level is a lot higher, and that will bring the demographic up.
Now,
We need to-
what? Let me. Here's my question. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this: if they come out here in our county area out here, and they turn it into city of Hemet, how is that going to affect people? Are their taxes going to go up? Are they going to have to deal with more regulations? What about us using our? A lot of people likes to use the animal shelter for the county, and they don't want to use the city. Animal control issues. What's that going to change for people?
No, and those are very valid concerns that everybody has. And that's why when I started hearing about this, that was the first thing that came to my mind is well, I live in the county, right? I don't want those things to be affected by me. I love my way of life. I like those sort of things. And so, when I started digging into it and looking at, how this is structured, your taxes aren't going up on your property taxes. You're grandfathered in. And if you understand, like when I was on San Jacinto City Council, and Hemet is the same way. We have some of the oldest communities in Riverside County, and the older parts of town, we're both 100 years old, over 100 years old.
Right.
All those residential units in the area that have been here, they don't contribute to what the new houses contribute to, like public safety CFDs or landscaping districts and things like that, which has been a detriment to San Jacinto and Hemet. Whereas you see new cities like Menifee or Temecula, everybody pays those things, which is why all those things are taken care of and why there's those communities are doing so well. So, government can't force the older developments to do that, but the new developments do contribute to that. The Lennars, the DRs, they help pay for firefighters and police. They help pay for landscaping. But right now, if you're in the county and there's a new development, like the citrus development, if that citrus development were to go through, all those services and all those revenues would go to the county. It wouldn't go to, necessarily back to our community that's here. Whereas, when we start talking about the new development actually helps Hemet, helps the community, because we are one community. And that was really our strategy in Hemet is, San Jacinto, as we developed on the outskirts of downtown San Jacinto, all those new developments help lift up, and a portion of it comes back to the city actually to help the city, do well on that side.
Now, somebody also wants me to ask you. Noah asks, what would be the boundaries if they did this? Has that been drawn down yet?
It has. In fact, this petition was put forward with citizens. 1,500 citizens in the county signed this 2 years ago. Keith Garrison, a community leader who, God bless his soul, passed away, was the leader of the organization. And that's when we kind of came together and said we didn't like what was happening. Our group is called Hemet Rising. You can find it at www.hemet-rising.com. There's a website there. And on the website, you're going to find the city agenda for the council meeting tomorrow. If you click on that, it has the map of the boundary. And so it squares off Val Vista, Southern Hemet, and then also West Hemet. There's pockets along California Warren Road that would be squared off as well on there.
So that's like Hemet underscore or just
Hyphen dash.
A dash.
The dash. Rising, RISING.com.
That's right.
Okay, we're going to throw that in the comments for you guys.
Yeah, and at the bottom, there's actually documents in there as well. Besides the hyperlinks, the white button for the agenda with the map, you can see what's on the agenda, what we're talking about. We wanted to share with you ahead of time to understand what's going on. But there's Q&A in there, and the Q&A is really important because it answers those questions about the taxes. I have horses or I have chickens. Am I going to have to get rid of those things? Or I've got my motorhome in the backyard. None of that stuff is going to change.
So the city won't allow that. But if you're in the county and you already been having that, they're not going to come in with their code enforcement guys and tell, hey, you got to move this city ordinance now.
Correct. And well, that's as a citizen initiative. That's how the citizen initiative was written. And that's really, there's 3 actions that the city council is going to take. That's all they're asked to do because it's not their initiative, right? It's the citizens initiative. So A, they're just going to confirm that monetarily or money-wise that they can afford, or that there's a surplus, to be a part of the, to manage the county, which it looks like there's actually a pretty big surplus, and that's not staying in the county or, in the area right now. It's going back to the county. And the second one is they're going to have a staffing plan for public services, police, fire, public works, code, that sort of thing. And then the third thing is they're going to confirm the zoning, which again has been submitted to stay exactly what it is.
That's what was my next question, is if the zoning is going to be changing.
Absolutely not. No,
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I live here in the county.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, we do not.
You'd be upset, wouldn't
We
you?
would be, yes.
So now
Yes.
here's another question. I got Beatrice Massey. If I said that wrong, I apologize. She wants to know who is behind the Hemet United. Is it Dr. Chaudhry?
I suspect, most likely, he was involved in a part of that. I'm not sure how or why. This kind of a question is why would he want this, right? Why would KPC want this? And we've asked. In fact, I was talking to Supervisor Chuck Washington today, and he was making the same statement. This kind of a question is what does he have to gain out of it, right?
We all like to know that.
Well, exactly. We've kind of said, well, maybe it's a council member, but again, I mean, I think we all can be involved with council members today or support them. You don't have to be in the county or the city, right? That doesn't really add up on that side. And honestly, though, from my perspective, we talked about it because there's a lot of people that are not going to support something or are leery or worried about that sort of situation. Right now I sit on the county GPAC representing Supervisor Chuck Washington, the General Plan Commission. And we had 2 projects come forward from KPC. One of them was his project out here. And, I called Collie and I told him, I'm not going to be able to approve your project. It's not something that I'm going to stand for with the people. And I've always been a person much like Debbie of, hey, we're going to march our own drum, beat our own drum. So when we talked about this Hemet United, to me, what they started for whatever reason, I don't think really matters with where we're at today. We had a huge win with Hemet, with the 79 moving forward. And right now, if Hemet moved to the 4th largest population, it would change a lot of the strength of what happens in the county. We would, with the services and support we get from the county compared to other cities, it's quite different, I think most people believe. And so to me, like I told Debbie, is, hey, if we can take the steering wheel from this, what they started, and basically take control of this strategy and make it better for our valley instead of being split. And that's kind of what we do with the 79. Instead of being split all the time between, Hemet can't handle this, or Hemet's no good, or, Hemet's got a bad name or whatever. We've got to start somewhere to turn around our community. And just like the 79, if we unite as a community and we take control, we can steer this the right way for the right reasons and make fabulous things happen and bring back the glory of the community. And we talked just before this, we had a meeting. We're actually going to do a town hall with Hemet Rising.
Okay.
We're going to, I hope to do it at Hemet Theater. I have to figure out a date and a time to do that, but we want the public involved. We want the county involved. But this is our community. And we're really saying
the people involved.
That's right. We want local control. We want local control of where we're going and what's being built in our backyard. I mean, what do you hear?
What's your take on it, Debbie?
So, and going back to her question regarding the doctor, I was immediately suspicious too of what would he have to gain, and my first thought was his hospital, but I was wrong. he cannot, as a privately owned hospital, receive tax dollars from our property taxes. So that was a big relief to me because I don't really know what he wants to gain, just like he said. But whatever it is, what I want to gain is I have lived in this valley since 1971. I've seen it grow.
You've seen a lot of changes.
And I mean, you used to be able to ride your bike down San Jacinto Street. I was between Hemet and San Jacinto, and I was in my car the other day thinking, this is insane. You'd get killed on this street today. But it's grown, and there were a lot of really good glory days to it. There's been a lot of good people in this town that have left this town, and I'm not a quitter. And I feel that we need to do good for ourselves, for our future. Even what we're talking about right now probably won't be accomplished 100% in my lifetime. But that's okay, because if we point it in the right direction, and the right direction is to unite. I'm a real estate broker, and I hear from people out in the county all the time, Debbie, who owns this property? This is what's going on here, and this is what's going on there. And I pick those little battles and try and fight them with them. But what I'm encountering time after time is a lack of interest from the county to help us.
You think we get more interest from being from the
Absolutely,
city?
because we're going to be gaining a whole lot of votes, and the city will be gaining a whole lot of votes and a whole lot more people to consider when they make decisions. Many people that live in this town don't even realize that they don't live in the city limits. I see.
Oh, well, I have a Hemet address, though.
Exactly. Well, if you have 3 numbers or 4 numbers in that address, you do live in the city limits. But if you have 5 numbers, you live in the county.
You out in the boonies.
You're in the county. And so when people are concerned, they'll say, well, call Hemet PD, and it's way out here. It's like, no, they don't even realize that we are in a different, we're the sheriffs, which I love the sheriffs too. I think they've done a great job out here. But we've got to unite and get that political clout that we need. I mean, we basically have just sort of withered away over the last 20 years. And I still feel very proud of my town. I don't tell people I'm from Temecula. That's like people saying they're from San Diego and they live in Escondido. And you get a lot of that. People do that. But I'm proud of this town, and I just want to see it be better.
Well, here's a good question for both of you. George Evans is asking, what is the purpose for the annex county land, and who will maintain the roads? What is the plan for the fire suppression? I asked you that before we even went live. And let me see here. And what are the officials going to do in regards to boundary issues? There are not being cleared up now. That's not being cleared up now.
What do they mean by boundary issues?
George, what are you talking about on boundary issues? I guess a lot of times, the police has got to figure out, is it our jurisdiction or is it their jurisdiction? Is it Hemet Fire or is it going to be Cal Fire?
It's kind of like Columbia Street at Florida.
Yeah, one side of the street's Hemet and the other side
correct,
the Seminole,
correct.
So that's
If
my
that's
main
special.
question is, like George just asked, what about the fire departments? Are now we going to be using, if we have residential fire or vegetation fire, do we have to use Hemet Fire Department, or is Cal Fire still going to be covering anything out here? What's the changes on the fire suppression?
Well, I mean, you can see where I live, and the Fairview fire was literally, several hundred feet from my property, and that was definitely one of the first things we had to evacuate. It was just one of the most horrendous things that we have been through on that side. I mean, definitely a concern. And in digging into this, yes, on the residential side, there would be expansion with Hemet Fire. However, when you're talking about the wildfire zone, the mutual aid, the state aid for any wildfire would absolutely stay the same. In addition, there's a wildfire insurance. It's actually fairly inexpensive, surprisingly, that the city would supplement their mutual aid agreements with CAL FIRE and the other state agencies to provide services in this area. But what's interesting is when we talk about this, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, George. Hi, George.
And I think George is saying something about, so it's more, wait, where does the question go? And it's the regards to the issues in the city now. Are you retaining to the fire issues that we're having, George, or boundary issues? Eliminate on that so I can explain that. Go ahead.
So where I come from, when you're talking about roads, that's one of the issues that has brought me forward on opposing the Citrus Valley project out in the groves on the east end of town is we don't have enough roads. And if you look at an aerial view of the entire valley, there's actually someday, again, not probably in my lifetime, going to be a road coming through from Dominagoni up Gibble connecting to Fairview. That's the next access. And that will change the whole dynamic of the town. But until we get where right now I'm fighting probably 6 different battles on projects in the county. And by the way, I make my living selling real estate, so I'm not against growth. I just like smart growth. And I don't see it smart when you can't get down Stetson at 3:30 in the afternoon because it's so impacted on a 2-lane road. And if you're going to dump 4 or 5 or 6,000 more homes out here,
that's what people are just saying.
That's
yeah.
right.
They
So
saying fix the roads instead of more homes.
Well, and exactly right. But until we get the county out of the middle of it, because right now they're the ones getting the lion's share of our taxes out in the county, and we're getting. It's kind of like everything else in Hemet. We get ignored.
So this annex would probably help the people in the county get more support.
I believe the county will be less involved and the local representation will take over. And trust me, anybody that knows me out there, they know that I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to do something and not going to do it.
Right. We know a lot of people do that.
and so, I committed to living here and never leaving as long as my family's here and they're not going anywhere. So I think it's important that we band together. We need to rise up above what we have wallowed in. All you have to do is look at your own site and see how many times people are sad about bad things happening in Hemet. And why? I can drive to Temecula and I see homeless people crawling out from behind their shopping centers in the morning. They're better at hiding it.
Right.
And we need to get better at hiding it and handling it. And if you add in a lot of people on that aren't in the city right now, you think people like us aren't going to be raising Cain with the city?
Talking about that, Dawn has a question. Living in the county, let's say you're living in the county right now, and then the city effect comes through, will your property insurance go up?
No, in fact, the plan is for it to go down. So Hemet did a really nice thing. If you've been out by Hemet Ryan Airport, one of our members, Sean Murphy, actually was the one that led it. But there's a training facility now that Hemet Fire has. And part of the goal with this process would be to add capabilities of that, where you would have a higher ISO level. I think it's 9,000. Misquote that number, but it would have an higher ISO number, which would equate to lower fire insurance for everybody by accomplishing that at that fire station for the city. So it actually would be a process to lower the fire insurance requirements because of our training capabilities and our ISO capabilities at Hemet Ryan Airport.
Well, here's a good question for you, Andrew, too, talking about fire and everything. If there's any fires out here in the East Hemet area, Station 5 is normally the ones that would call that. Now we're giving more coverage area on Station 5. Are they going to be bringing in more help for that area, bringing another fire station out here because we got more residents here now?
Yeah, so actually the fire station on Fairview, North Fairview, would become Hemet. As well.
You're talking about Station 72?
Correct.
Okay.
So Hemet Fire would expand with those capabilities, and then there's 2 developments that are going through the county right now in the county area. One above me, and then this other one we're talking about in Val Vista. So there's 3 more fire stations that are slated for the county area, and they'll either become county or they'll become, Hemet Fire, right?
Right.
And this is kind of the big thing that I'm focused on is it's not just this growth today. We see the growth in Winchester coming this way, And I think we all don't want growth to happen, but we're in Southern California and we know growth is coming our way. And instead of reacting with negative or opposition, my attitude, like in San Jacinto, is why aren't we proactively taking the wheel of that growth? Because we have our identity, we know who we are, instead of letting somebody else determine how we're going to develop, we do it our way, with our characteristics and our history of who we are. And for the next 50 years, I think you were saying this, our area is going to grow tremendously for the next 50 years. And all of that county area can remain county, and the benefit going back to, not the local community, or, by being one, we can be unified in how that development occurs to retain our history, our culture, how we look, how the streets intertwine, how the roads happen. There's thought behind it, right? And a plan behind it, so that as it happens, the fire stations, the policing, the infrastructure that's there, it's a unified, nice design. When you look at Menifee expanding, I mean, other cities are constantly annexing and expanding, and they have master plans to do that. When you're a county surrounding a city, there's no master plan. It's just develop this or develop that, and it wouldn't be nicer to have a master plan community that interconnects and retain, our identity, and who we are. We're not Temecula, right?
Now, when they take over the other fire stations, George Evans is asking, how can the city plan to carry the cost for fire suppressions when right now they can't even afford it?
So this goes back to what those residents are already paying. So there's already a fire tax that every resident pays in the county area. There's also, right, there's other property taxes and revenues that come from those residents. And if you know anything about how that works in city government, when revenues come in, 20 to 25% of that revenue automatically goes to administration overhead. So even though in the county you're paying for, the fire department, you're paying for policing department, literally 25% of that revenue you're paying isn't staying in the community. It's going to other county services and overhead and management. Whereas when you look at the city, right, that 20-25%, right, doesn't need to go to overhead here because we already have that overhead covered. So there's going to be a surplus of money that the county was taking that's going to be retained. So that's really where the difference is. And then on top of that, George, being on the GPAC, I've been seeing all the development that's happening in this county area. There's literally, over the last 10 years, 7,500 development applications within R3 zip codes, 92543, 44, and 45, right? So think about the development impact fees. Think about the CFDs or tax assessment that those developments are paying. There's growth every year in this area, and that growth money, right, is going to other areas, not in the community. So this is actually what we did in San Jacinto with DR Horton and the fire station on Conwood Avenue. So George, exactly the example I'm speaking of. We had DR Horton, the developer, build that station on Conwood Avenue, and the developer also paid for all the fire equipment on top of that. And then the residents, the houses there, had a public safety CFD that then paid for the firemen and the police for that district. So all that new development pays for itself and pays for the public safety that's there. And that's what I see starting to happen in the county and around the city. And it's like, well, wait a minute. This is that opportunity that once that development happens, you can't go backwards. So if it develops today and that development becomes county, it's staying county. That money is going to the county. That it's not part of the local control. Whereas if you annex today, my area and these areas we live in, and it's our community, city, and our businesses here, actually it's going to benefit the whole community, and we're going to start turning this community around. But once it's built, it's too late.
Another question, Kristen, it says, I'm hearing all the benefit, that will come out of it. But can't they address what they're going to handle the existing issues on a larger scale as they expand into a county area? What is your thoughts on that?
The bigger
Is
issues.
that going to bring them more support, bring them more police? Are we getting more code enforcement officers? Somebody else wants to know, are our
I
taxes
got
going
a
up?
question. When I shop in the stores in the city of Hemet, I pay the same tax.
Right.
And that money stays in the city of Hemet. So now if I'm incorporated in, I'm still, I'm going to have all the benefits of shopping right here in town.
Because your
To help
property
my
taxes
community.
ain't going up. That's not going
Everything's
to
the same.
be.
Nothing changed for
So
me.
nothing
except
changes.
The benefits came to me instead of the negative.
Okay. And also, I think this is going to be for you. Beatrice Massey wants to know if you can address the citrus. Hang on a sec. Her thing just disappeared on me. So many comments coming in. Please address the proposed Citrus Valley development.
Sure. So right now they're at a standstill. They've had to go back to the drawing board. They came out initially on 767 acres, which would include streets, 10 acres of commercial, a whole bunch of things that when you start thinking about it, that's not a lot of acreage to put 6,300 units on. That's less than a 0.10 of an acre per person. And some of those properties were going to be half acre.
That's going to be like sardines.
So it's like going to be like sardines. So that got shot down because there was a group, and I am part of that group, that is very active out there. You should, if you have not signed the petition, you still should sign it. It's on there's also our site on the Hemet Rising website as well.
Which our comments is in there with the address up above.
And right now, I've heard they're trying to whittle it down to 4,000. In my opinion, that's still too many properties. You only have 500 sewer hookups out on that end of town.
I think our citrus is worth more than more homes, right? Because they
Well,
bring in more homes.
40% of
what about our schools? Our schools are already overpopulated.
Our citrus groves are a very important part of the agriculture system in Riverside County. So I hate to see it gone. I would have loved to have seen that property offered to another farmer. That did not happen. That doesn't mean that farming's dead because somebody wants out. It just means somebody else would be there to buy it, but it's worth more money to them if they can sell it and as a project for residential and commercial. So it is being addressed. That hasn't gone to another hearing. They're a little bit stuck right now is the opinion that I'm forming. And all that means is we got to keep pushing back harder as we are on the doctor's property out there in the Groves. That hearing is April 14th, and we will have some information, to make sure people attend that. Again, all of these things that got me on board, the person who swore they'd never cared about living in the city, is that we're fighting daily fights to prevent the county, who doesn't care what happens to us, from shoving things down our throat and us having no control.
Well, let me ask you guys this. You guys live here in the county. Let's say you need police help. Mm-hmm. When you call for police, how long does it take the response for them to get out here? Because I know they say that they're always shorthanded out here.
I never have a problem.
They like here like that?
I had an incident on a hillside property that I had for sale. Had it sold actually in escrow. Guy got into the area, claimed he bought it, and I had 5 sheriffs there within minutes.
Oh, you're lucky. So yeah, they always say the response time is longer, but I guess it depends on Lieutenant Roy's work, and he gets them out there. So you think that we would get a better response time having Hemet now as our police agency instead of the sheriffs out here in the county? What is your thoughts on that? Because I do know Hemet Police is getting ready to bring on 6 new officers.
Mm-hmm. They are. And if you look at the agenda, the staffing plan is on there for police, fire, code. It's all on that agenda item, so you can go through and look at that. And there is, an increase that's there. But I think the important thing, right, is that, as this development occurs, we're going to be able to keep more of those revenues and increase more of those revenues for law enforcement and for public safety, right? Because that's the number one issue that we have and we care about. And the same thing with the roads. And they've repaired some of the county roads, but there's a lot of these county roads that are that are
In-
not well. I know Hemet's working on theirs as well, but I think the bottom line is we're not getting local control. We have future development. We see it breathing down our back. Do we want to be in the driver's seat as a community in a county and voicing our opinion and being involved with what happens and how it happens, and those extra dollars coming back to our own community? Or do we want to continue to oppose development even though it's happening? Those dollars go outside our community, and we really have no control over what's being developed or what's being built, in our neighborhoods.
So that's what's made it passionate for me. Is I don't like to feel helpless, and I think that a lot of the people watching this right now, they feel helpless, and they're like, how do we fix it? And if nobody steps forward and tries to fix it, it just continues on the way it is.
Do you think the roads will get fixed quicker out here now being under the city?
With the city manager, it's one of his biggest pet peeves. And if you've noticed, just like State Street and Stetson going up, I mean, he is pushing hard on it. And that's one thing I gotta say. I haven't had a lot of faith with Hemet city managers. Really, I was born and raised here. People don't know that. I wasn't just a part of San Antonio City Council. I was, born here, a little blue collar family, and was raised here. And I have not been a fan of any of the city managers until our current city manager, Mark.
Mark has been doing a kick job. Mark is doing great.
He went to high school here. He grew up here. He grew up in the Citrus in the county area. His passion for this community and his effort to drive. The county has approached him when this was on the agenda, and they're pushing back, and they want him to delay. There's only so many reasons of why they want that to happen. But regardless, he, supports this community coming together, and he, good things are happening right now with our roads. There is, you use Florida Avenue, there is being cleaned up. You can see some of those changes being made. He's got an economic development plan he's working on. There's a new higher level planner that he's bringing on to improve some of the planning process and quickness that's there. I don't think we've ever had a city manager and, quite frankly, a council like we do right now. It's kind of the right time and the right place that these things are happening in my eyes.
Okay. And I am having new people that are just now logging into our lives and would like for you guys to introduce. I want to know who our speakers are. So if you want to introduce who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Wonderful.
You tell your life story, Andrew.
Yeah, it's just so in a nutshell. I mean, I'm Andrew Kotyak. I was born and raised here, went to school here. After the military, moved back here and raised my family, started my businesses, several local businesses. And I first started volunteering with nonprofits. So for a decade, I volunteered with Ramona Pageant, the Boy Scouts 3P District. I was the chairman, Central County United Way, Diamond Valley Arts Council. I can go on with groups I help support, Exchange Club, Valleywide. I grew up at Valleywide Parks playing soccer, a lot of good mentors. In a broken home, I had a lot of good father figures growing up here. Grew up in the orchards, the Olsons out on Fairview, and played in the orchards as a kid. Rode down the sloughs and scraped up my knuckles on the concrete side. So I love this place. And after volunteering, the recall happened in San Jacinto in 2010, and I was asked to step up. When that happened with those indicted council members, which I did, and I was on council for 10 years there and mayor on and off, it made good things happen in San Jacinto, I believe, help turn San Jacinto around. But since then, my wife has had health problems and our kids have grown up. And so we've been taking this decade for ourselves. But my daughter's moved back here and I love this place. And so I've been fighting to help turn it around. I see the problems we have, and it started with the highway. To me, our highway was supposed to be built in 1989. It was part of the first Measure A tax. And the 15, 215, and 60 didn't exist, right? Hemet was the place to be. And those highways were built. Our highway was not built. And my story is if you look at it like Route 66, that's what happened to our community. Interstates got built around us, the 15, 215 on interstates, but that's my example. And we're Route 66, our highway wasn't built, and our community has slowly withered and had problems since the late 80s and 90s. And my big push is if we get that corridor back open, our economy will come back. And that's kind of been my passion right now, is for the next few years is to push to make this a better place. My home, my family, and really, my community.
And you, Debbie?
I'm Debbie Green. I am a real estate broker. I owned the Century 21 McDaniel offices for 22 years, had a property management company and an escrow. And I sold everything because I thought I was going to retire and just enjoy life. That didn't happen.
You were tired of work.
Not really. So now I just sell real estate for the guy I sold to. And I've been able to give back to my community in the last probably 15 years. For a long time, I was just nose to the grindstone, work, mind your own business. And I realized how good Hemet had been to me. And I believe very strongly in Hemet, so I wanted to give back. So I'm part of a lot of nonprofit groups here in town, trying to raise money, keep good things happening. And now this was a natural step for me. Once, when you get enough calls from people saying, Debbie, who owns this property? And you're going down the rabbit hole to find out how you can help that person stop what's happening next door to them, you realize that there's a lot of need out there and that we are not united. And we need to pull ourselves out of this funk of just complaining, and somebody has to step forward and do something. And I hope that a lot of people step forward with Andrew and myself and the other initial members that have started to try to move this in a direction away from where Hemet United took it to. Whether they were right or wrong or their reasons for it, their reasons are not my reasons. My reasons are I truly want to see this town better. And I think all our money going to the county is failing us and failing our whole community.
So you feel that you're not getting the support from the county, that your taxes are going to?
Oh, I know we're not.
What support do you feel that you're lacking?
Well, just attend a hearing with the planning department. And, this whole opposed Citrus Valley project, which that is a website as well, and people should look that up, started with a notice that was sent out by the county to residents that lived within 600 feet of that 767 acres. Well, it's all farmland. So you can imagine how few people were notified.
Not very many.
Not very many. And what they expected it to have happen is to just breeze through. The next thing that's happened is the county unanimously, all of the supervisors voted for the homeless project out on 3 acres out by the Pottery Yard on Florida Avenue. Now, they went out, they committed $5 million to it. Nobody in this town knew what was happening. And then, boom, those people buy real estate after they've got the commitment from the county to put in all these homeless things right around.
They don't want to live around it.
And the people around it are just devastated. Well, water is a big issue all over California, but especially out here. And there's not enough water for all these projects that everybody wants to do, but the county isn't going to stop if they can collect the revenue. So we just want intelligent growth. I don't want to think about 767 acres. I want to think about everything that goes back into those hills. If we let one little project go in without local control over it, what will happen next?
So you feel if the city annex takes over and the city takes over this area, that will prevent the county from just coming in and just making a mess out of it?
The county won't have any say. It'll be a city issue.
Go through the city issue.
So we have been failed by the county. And so I say let's give the local control some try, because this is not working. What's currently happening is not working.
And at least this way you can go to city council meetings and have a word.
Raise some cane. That's right.
So Ann Smith wants to know the annex. Is this the first step of the annex, or how in the annexation? Is there more procedures to find out if it's going to do it or not? What steps are we in right now?
Hi, Ann. Good seeing you again. We're picking up from the work that Keith had done. So basically what's been done is the petition has been completed, the 1,500 signatures, and that's been qualified. That's, it's already been qualified, right, as a process. In addition, and that was through LAFCO, so the county had to validate and go through the process of validating it. And then in addition, a study had to be performed of the services, the revenue, all those studies that have to occur have been basically completed to support the process, improve that the money is there to pay for services, which George was asking about, that the services wouldn't go down, that they would go up. And the history has to be proven, right? So all the studies from the sheriffs, the CAL FIRE, all that sort of stuff has had to be compiled and turned into a study. And so then LAFCO, right, comes back to the city, basically to say, hey, the citizens have submitted basically an initiative, and they're saying in our study that you will have enough revenue. The citizens in their initiative is saying that there could be enough services. And the citizens are saying that, zoning is going to stay the same. And so what the city has to do, because it involves them, is they have to basically verify all those three things, right? So it's not the city's decision. It's not the city, making a vote of yes or no or anything like that, which we wanted to make sure people understood. What the city is doing is they're checking the numbers, which actually turned out better than the study's numbers on revenue. They check the services and what their manpower would be or what they would look at being, which again turned out better than what we expected. And then they will ratify the zoning. So that's the step we're in right now, is the city is verifying those three things. And then basically our organization then will complete the submittal to LAFCO, and LAFCO will basically look at that and make the determination, is how that process in kind of a simplistic term works out. There, of course, would have to be negotiations because there's road maintenance that needs to be done, right? There's firehouse buildings that would become city, not county. There's certain negotiations on the backside that would have to occur, right? But those are minor things that have to work out versus the phase that we're at right now. And hope that helps.
And George Evan wants to know what's going to be the cost for the police, fire, and schools. What about those that have to be built and changed? That's going to happen?
Well, he mentioned that new construction is how you fund those. It's not your existing residents that pay for that. That is a developer cost, and it's all negotiated in.
And that's what some people are just saying here about taxes. They're going to take more tax money from them. Their taxes are not going to change. Everybody's grandfathered in.
In fact, we have a frequently asked questions PDF that is on the website, hemet-rising.com. And it says frequently asked questions, and it addresses probably every concern that anybody would have. Certainly the concerns I had, because like I said, I didn't see myself here today until I had dealt with the last 2 years of dealing with the county regarding projects that are pretty frightening for us.
I don't want to pay more taxes. We pay enough taxes here in California, what we're doing.
So the city coming out, just for newbies that's logging in my live, when the city annexes and they take over some of the county area, people that are living in the county, you're not going to start paying no extra city taxes. You're going to stay the same as you are. So there's no new money coming in from any of the
zone changes.
No zone changes, none of that. So
now I would like to go back to a question what you had asked before about, well, if I have chickens or I have this or that. Remember, if you are in a zone that doesn't allow that and you shouldn't have them, then the rules are the same as where you were before.
But what if I'm in a zone and I can have my chickens?
If you are in that zone, then that's okay. But you do have people in the city of Hemet currently that might have livestock in their backyard and they're not zoned for it. So if they get a complaint from their neighbor, they shouldn't get upset that their neighbor's complaining. Their zoning didn't allow for it. But you know how it goes. But that is the truth. Out here, it's the same way.
And the property tax, Debbie, will not change either.
No.
So you're like you say, they're grandfathered in, so no changes on that. Ann wants to know, where can she find that petition at that you were talking about?
The LAFCO.
We'll add that to the website, and so everybody can see that to our documents at the bottom. We have a list of documents there. I'm happy to add that for you.
And do you think that it might not, the zoning might not change now, but will they probably go put in for later to do rezoning?
So the county's in that process right now, right? So the way that the zoning world changes is that every 10 years, whether you're county or city, they do a new general plan, and they have to because of growth, development, zoning issues that occur, and there's zoning that expires or goes away, and they change the wording or the densities. So whether you're county or city, your zones potentially can change every 10 years. The county is going through their general plan amendment right now. I'm the representative for Supervisor Washington at the county level. We're getting those applications from people left and right to change their zoning. A lot of it is in these areas that we're talking about right now. So, is there any guarantee your zone is not going to change in the future? Absolutely not. You're in Southern California, right? We don't want those zones to change. But in the same breath, to build a 6-story building in the middle of the orange groves probably isn't appropriate, right? So, how I'd like to see this happen with local control, right, is if we support this is, look, we get local control into the city in our areas. This area, the east, the west, I'm in the southern part. And then, we ask the city to do a master plan overlay over that portion. And we ask them to retain the zoning of your properties that are there. But we also do in a way where, it's going to preserve who we are, our culture, our identity. We're not like some of these new cities. And it fits in nicely with the existing, interconnectivity of Hemet in the county area, where it looks more like a master plan community. And as it does develop, there's a plan to it, right? There's a plan for citrus in the landscaping, or, certain roads are improved because it interconnects and moves us across the valley easier. But there's none of that general plan that's going on right now with that. So to answer your question, zones, that's going to change county or city. The benefit is that we have a plan. We can impact it. We can have a voice, and we can do it in a way where it is our community as we do develop.
Because the county can just go out and do it, and you have no say so. But at least
think
with
about what they're doing right
it's
now.
happening.
It's
Right.
happening.
It's happening
That's
right now.
like that little 767
where
acres.
the orange groves.
When that gets changed, what is going to
had
happen
no
with the
voice.
hundreds and hundreds of acres around it? It's just it's all gonna break loose.
So at least this
So
way you
there's
can go
no
to city council and have.
Correct.
And what-
And we have representation. We have no representation right now.
Yeah, they
I write to Chuck Washington's office on the homeless or whatever these little structures are that are being built at Hemet and Stetson. You just keep chipping away at them, and you have to make your calls. That's one of the things I urge everybody is be proactive. And that's what we've decided to do, and many other people is, don't be afraid. People have become so afraid to call out something. Call a police officer if you need them. Call a code enforcement if something's going on. We've got things happening on the bottom of my street right now that are not making me happy. I'm trying to deal with the owner on it, not making progress. So my next steps are to beat my head against the wall with dealing with the county. So, for those that think that this is all going to sit back as it was 30 years ago, that time passed. And now we've become disjointed from each other. And it's either we become a family and we rise ourselves up from all the negative that we hear out there. And trust me, I know people that first thing they say, "You're from Hemet?" I could live anywhere I want. I choose Hemet. I love Hemet, and I want to see it better. And I hope everybody watching this will jump on board and realize that I'm not going to back something that's bad for this community because I love this community, and so does Andrew. So get on board with this, guys. Let's make it happen our way instead of the way the county wants it to be.
Suzette Lacerio has a question on YouTube. How will this affect our social services? Would we have less funding for those programs? What is your thoughts on that, Andrew?
I don't think that developing in the county area and turning that in, if it's a rural area, would really have any impact on social services from that aspect. You know, but where I do think we have a voice with that is that we are an underserved community socioeconomically. We don't have access, right, to healthcare. It's very hard to get outside the valley for healthcare, for education, for jobs, and that's because we really don't have a strong voice because of how we're splintered. We're a small town, right, of 80,000 people, and that's really kind of the point here that we're looking at is, by doing the annexation, the size of the community is going to go way up into the ranks, into the top 4 in the county.
There's
And
28 cities, right?
Mhm.
28 cities.
And so, when you start talking about voices for support or for, community benefits like that, we're going to have a much stronger voice, to make those things happen in our community. So I think, I guess, answer your questions, I think we're going to have better support in those areas because of our population and our size.
So what do you think is going to be the timeline for this to all happen?
Well, it's up to us as a community, right? I mean, do we want to be splintered? Do we want people outside to split us up and tell us, oh, Hemet's horrible, we can't do it, or tell us lies about our taxes going up when it's not happening? In the meantime, they're putting the homeless project in the middle of nowhere in our rural areas next to senior communities. This is something where, as a community, that's why we're on this. We're one community, right? We shop, we live together. We need to stick together, and if we do that, we can make good things happen for our community and turn this around. So if we come together as a community, this can happen very quickly, which will set the stage for more things to improve our community happen quicker. But if this is going to turn into something of a fight or something like that, it could take a long time.
Now they're having a city council meeting tomorrow night. What, at 6:30, 6 o'clock?
6 p.m. at the library.
At the library upstairs. So people that want to have a voice, or they come. What, they give you 3 minutes?
Yes, again, the city's not making a decision on it. This is a citizens initiative. So our group is the one that's is going to be wrapping up the application. The city's just ratifying their numbers, their staffing, if this were to occur, because we've asked them to, right? So all they're doing is checking boxes, which is their only requirement. They're not making a decision. It's not yes and no. The city's just saying, hey, we can afford it, we can staff it, this is our zoning. But we want you to be involved. So really where we'd like you to be involved is in our community, our town hall event, where we want people to speak up, and we're going to be talking about maps and zoning and start talking about the process and really steering our community. So you're more than welcome to come tomorrow night. You're going to have 3 minutes if you do, and you're going to sit there and really, we're the applicant. We want you to be, come to our town hall. We're going to post it on our website. And ideally, it's going to be at Hemet Theater, and we're going to have a screen. We're going to have the maps. We're going to go into a lot more detail than at a council meeting, and you're going to have a lot more than 3 minutes to talk about it with us.
YouTube wants to know, will this just come to a vote or just happen? How will that come effect? Will it have to be voted on by who?
So the process right now is it goes to LAFCO, and LAFCO basically, is going to get the community input. They're going to the application, and then based on community response, they'll decide on which direction it's going to go. Right? If there's support and the city numbers and things look good, then they have the authority to say it's a go, basically, right? On the other hand, if there's pitchforks and fire and whatever else on that side, then it can go into a long process where they say, oh, let's do a whole campaign and a whole vote, which, Supervisor Washington actually had mentioned to me that if you had choice, that's what it would do, that Hemet can't do this and shouldn't do that. And, a vote probably would kill this process, right? And our community would continue to flail. So, it's one of those pieces where ideally, our community unites and we rise up and we become stronger together, and it happens quickly. If it does, that change can happen quicker.
What's
too.
that saying? I always saying, community that unites together will survive together. Look out for each other, not at each other.
Look at you, Eddie.
I'm a poet and didn't know
He's
it, right?
good. Look at this guy.
And what you just said there was really important, and I hope everybody caught that, is the supervisors don't want this to happen. Why? Because the county will get to keep retaining our money, keep retaining all our decisions.
And where does that money go to help us out?
Doesn't help Hemet at all. Nobody's done anything for Hemet at the county level much. It's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but not much.
Well,
We've been the dumping
here's
ground.
here's a little example I wanted to bring up. I can't remember what street he lives on, but he's in the 5 digits, so he's county. Okay. The city is paving roads and fixing roads. Well, his road is like one road over from being in the county. And they said, well, if you want this road paved, it's like a private road, but it still houses, people resident in its city of Hemet address. So he says, on our property taxes, we're paying taxes to Hemet, but yet we got to pay Hemet to pave our road.
Because they're in the county. So, and that's where you're saying the city manager has been getting a lot of roads paved, and it's millions and millions of dollars of work that has to be done. Obviously, it's going to take a series of years to get it done. But if you're in the county, I don't know the last time my road was paved.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to everyone's point here, right? By this annexation, you're not going to have changes tomorrow, right? The point is that as 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year goes, development in this county area is going to grow. Do we want a local voice in that? Do we want to benefit our community and be one community, or do we want to be fractured? Like right now, we have 2 separate supervisorial districts that actually split the county area from the city area, 5th district and 3rd district, right? We're not represented in one community. We're actually split, where there's not one voice. And so really this is more about, hey, long-term, having our voice, developing the right way. It's not more taxes. I definitely would not be voting for that. I'm very much anti-tax on that side. And same thing with zoning. I love my peace and quiet. I love how we're zoned. I don't want to change to that. That's really what this is about is, hey, let's make a good change and unite to redirect the direction we're going into a better tomorrow for our whole community that we call home.
And people want to know, where can they go to put their opinion in or their voice on this? If they want it or they don't want it, if there's a petition anywhere.
Yep. At the bottom of our website, which is hemet-rising.com, there's a contact section. There's buttons throughout the top, the middle you can click on. And there's a whole section on there. You can type in and send us your information, and we'll get it. We'll respond to you. We definitely want you to come to our town hall. If you don't want to do it via internet, electronic, you want to show up, our town hall is going to be a perfect place for that, right? To be able to talk about it. We're going to have several of those, moving forward, because we want you to be a part of this, right? We want you to help take the wheel and drive this in the right direction for the community, right? We don't want you in the back. So we want to hear your voice. We want you to impact it and move it in the right direction.
County roads, maintain, okay. Would it be useful for people to come to the city council meeting tomorrow night on this, or
listen?
To listen.
At that point,
is
it's
anything
more
going to be
listen.
talked about it at the city council meeting?
I believe you can log in as well. I believe it's online, if I remember correctly, as well. I always welcome community involvement. I mean, that's how I raised my kids, right? It's your community. That's a great thing about it. That's what we're talking about, local control. You're welcome to come out. You can go to the meeting. It's in your own community. You can drop in. You can listen. If you want to speak, you can speak. You can meet other people. We're going to be there, right? So, if you want to take the time, you want to come out, you're welcome to do that. We'd love to see you. We'd love to hear your voice. But as far as speaking, you're going to have a lot more time at our town hall. So, if you really want to have an impact, I'd say our town hall would have a bigger impact than the city council meeting. But, you're welcome to do both.
Right.
Honestly.
And
But you know what I love is that people seem to care.
That's right.
And I love that. That's what this is all about, is that we all care about the same thing. So if you want to be there tomorrow, be there, but definitely the town halls, and I'm sure we're going to be getting the information to Eddie and
Yeah,
getting it
we'll
out there.
post it
you
on our
know.
pages.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
be passionate about it just the same way we are.
Stick
and-
up for
and
your
stick up
where
for
you
your
live.
town, you know.
One question, Suzette Lucerio on YouTube says, one question, not sure if they address this, but if the area in the orange groves isn't the ideal place for homeless, where can we have these projects?
Well, the place that we as a community came together with, and we worked with our previous supervisor, Mary Ann Ashley, on, was actually on Trumbull Road and Highway 74 by the 215. There's access for them. There's bus access in the county. They could also access Metrolink, and then community facilities as well, was really all there. You want people to be able to access to support that they need, right, to get a job or whatever it may be. Obviously, out in a rural area, how are they going to get to a job? How are they going to get to food? It really doesn't make sense to
No
put.
services.
I mean, there's no support. These people need support.
Yeah.
I guess really is the point there. And how are they going to get support if they're at the base of Ottawa Mountain out by the riverbed?
And actually, there were other sites that were even under consideration.
That's
that,
right.
Unfortunately, going back to what the county did, the county lined up $5 million, which allowed these guys to go out and spend $600,000 in preparation to put 40 homeless people out where there was no services. So that, to me, wasn't good thinking on the part of the county. There should have been something tied to that, that money that would have made sense on, let's see where it is. Does it make sense? None of that.
Exactly.
There's none of that control in place right now with it.
And one last question I want to ask, because I'm running out of time. When is the next the city meeting?
The next city meeting is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the
That's
library.
that's the city council meeting, right?
Oh,
And you're
okay.
talking about town hall meeting?
Oh, the town hall
hall.
meeting.
Yeah, the town
That
hall.
was
Absolutely.
setting up.
So we need to confirm the date and organization of it, but I would say we're going to have it next month. So within the next 30 days, we will have a town hall.
So we'll post it on the Action Eye News
Yeah.
Live Facebook
100%.
page.
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
definitely let you know and the community know. And that's why I reached out to Eddie on this right away was, as soon as we stepped into the shoes of steering this, it's like, we need to reach out to our people, our community, and get the word out and get you involved. And then we'll probably have a series. So maybe we'll do 3, maybe a month apart as we get through this, or 2 months apart as we walk into it. But as we've put the finished application together and position this, we want your fingerprints on it and your involvement to understand what's going on and meet neighbors, right? I mean, this is our community. Meet each other. We want to be active together, and we're stronger together.
And Richard, if you'll go back and listen, I don't know when you logged into my live stream, but if you'll go back to the beginning and watch it and recap, he's actually talking, you'll see what he's talking about, how this will probably do more benefit for the county people if the city takes over. Your taxes not going to go up, yada, yada, yada. Your zonings won't change. But it's too much to explain on a recap, but just definitely go back and watch my live from the beginning.
One thing is the benefit isn't only for the people that are in the unincorporated area. There's going to be tremendous benefit to those that already live in the city limits, because I just can't count the number of times people say, how come we don't have a Costco? Why don't we have a Trader Joe's? Because our demographics are wrong for those corporations.
So this will give us more
the
demographics.
Income has to go up. The education has to go up. The census information on the east end of town is going to boost Hemet city limits. And that's important, because the people in the current city limits will see improvement. I mean, I don't want to see another dollar store or a 99-cent store. I want to see businesses like Menifee has. We're not that far away.
Right.
And let's go for it together.
Alicia Robbins, that will be Hemet Town meeting, not San Jacinto.
That is Hemet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Andrew and Diane, I know you
Debbie.
guys, Debbie, I'm sorry.
But
It's
I'll
been a
go by
long day.
Diane. She was
Call
my
you
princess.
anything, but don't call you late for dinner,
That's
right?
right.
So, if you guys don't mind, guy and gal, if you guys don't mind going on the Action Eye News Live Facebook page, and also I'm sure there'll be questions on the Him and I News page, because I know this is shared in there as well. If you guys can follow the questions and help answer any questions
Sure.
that people ask, because there's so many questions in here, I can't keep up with them between them and YouTube. So very much appreciate that, and we will stay in touch with you guys on further posts on this as well. And then you can also post it in the comments as well for people to know what's the next. So,
Thank
anything
you. We
else you guys like to
appreciate
say?
the opportunity to talk.
Hey, that's what we're here
Thanks
for.
everybody for tuning in. I mean, that's why we reached out to Eddie, was to reach you and share it to your other pages on this side. So we'll try to answer all your questions. We're going to try and get back to you as quickly as possible. We want you to be involved, but you tuning in is a big sign about this community and being one. So thank you for taking the time to do that and caring.
All right. Anything for you?
Just thank you. I'm here to fight for everybody, and so is Andrew and a whole bunch of other people. So get on board. And I always think of this analogy of a twig. One twig alone is easy to break.
Right.
But
But
a
you got
bunch
a
of
whole pile
twigs,
of them.
We're unbreakable, guys, if we stick together and we make good things happen. We can quit dreaming about it or wishing for it. Let's make it happen.
That's their story, guys, and they're sticking to it.